education of our children, and we wish her the very best as she moves on to join Lucky Wayne Regional Educational Service Agency as the Associate Superintendent of Education Services. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Marion McClellan, Mayor of the City of Oak Park, Michigan, on behalf of the Oak Park City Council and all of our residents, by proclamation, do hereby recognize and honor Dr. Davida Jean Colbert, Ph.D., for her exemplary service and dedication to our community. In testimony whereof, I have officially signed my name and caused the seal of the City of Oak Park, Michigan, to be affixed this 17th day of June, 2019. Welcome and thank you for everything you have done. Please come on up. We're down to 11, I believe. D, 5E, licenses, new and renewals. Okay. 13. Let's see, where's 11?
11, right.
Okay. I'd like a motion to approve payment of invoices submitted by Garen Luco Miller, PC, for legal services in the total amount of $12,474.99.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
No. Me, yes.
One of those days.
There we go. Item 11B. Approval for payment of an invoice submitted by Howard L. Schiffman, PC, for legal services retainer for July 1st through September 30th, 2019, in the total amount of $18,000.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yeah.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes. Motion carried. That brings us to item 13, ordinances. Need a motion to approve the second reading and adopting an ordinance to amend Chapter 82, Utilities, of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oak Park, Michigan, by amending Sections 82-313, Determination, set the rates and charges to be imposed for the consumption and use of water and sewer services. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and supported. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, please.
I know we've already done the first reading, just for people, folks who are here tonight, can we have an explanation?
Yes. City Manager Tunge, can you?
Absolutely. This is in compliance with our annual budgeting process, and this adjusts the utility rates in accordance with the budget that was approved on May 20th.
Set. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Motion carried. 13B, first reading of an ordinance to add Section 2, 326 through 2, 340, Division 6, Traffic Safety Board, Chapter 2, Article 3 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oak Park. We need a motion for the first reading.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Can we have an explanation? Yes.
Absolutely. This is pursuant to our last council meeting. City council members asked me to come back with a recommendation for how we deal with the traffic regulations, signage, et cetera. And it was decided that this was the best path forward in terms of creating an ordinance to create a traffic safety board. The recommendation is that there will be, I believe, 5 voting members, 2 ex officio members. And by the way, if this ultimately passes, if people are interested in serving on this, they can submit their applications to the city clerk's office, and then we will bring those to city council through the process. But this group would be charged with working with our administrative staff to recommend traffic and safety measures and programs to enhance traffic safety throughout the city. And that includes signage. And we just had this issue with a stop sign that will, I think, needs to be applied across the board to the entire city.
I wonder if, under terms of office, if we could stagger the terms to start 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years, so that everybody didn't end their term at the same time. Kind of what we've done with some other commissions.
I'd have to defer to the city attorney or the city clerk on that one, Mayor.
The dates for the expiration of the terms are consistent with the other boards. That's how it was written.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have any discussion or questions?
Yes.
Yes.
I think this is a great idea. This is exactly the type of thing that local municipalities should be involved in. This affects all the residents of the city. I think everybody on this body has had people come up to them about such and such a corner or such and such a place. And this is a worthwhile endeavor, and I wholeheartedly support it.
Wonderful. Oh, is your,
I'm all in favor.
any others? Yes.
I agree with Councilmember Rich, and I hope that as part of this, and I know we've discussed this in the past, perhaps having a full citywide traffic safety audit.
Audit. That probably will be one of the recommendations of the commission. Any others? Every mayor says that the #1 complaint they get is speeding in the side streets. So we think it's just us, but it's every mayor's convention I've ever gone to, that's the #1 complaint. This is an effort to make this more reasonable and get a better handle on it. So we are responding to our residents. Are we ready to vote? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Motion carried. City Attorney today is Courtney Cross.
I have nothing from the city attorney's office.
Thank you. City Manager Eric Tunge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. 15A, I'd like to ask our Assistant City Manager and Director of Public Works, Kevin Yee, to join me at the podium to discuss the purchase of a 2020 Freightliner single-axle dump truck.
Good evening. The Public Works Department is requesting authorization to purchase the following vehicle from the Rochester Hills pre-bid contract. It's for a 2020 Freightliner 39,000 GVW chassis single axle dump truck. This, the amount of the bid is $195,773. We're asking to purchase this ahead of the budget because there is approximately 1 year lead time on this. We're actually hoping to get the order in before most municipalities are putting in their orders for the next budget year. It is recommended that City Council authorize the Public Works Department to participate in the Rochester Hills pre-bid contract for a 2020 Freightliner single-axle dump truck totaling $195,773. There's $100,000 budgeted in each of the street fund accounts listed in the major and local streets in the 2019-20 approved budget. And as I had mentioned, we're requesting to pre-order this truck prior to the budget year due to the long lead time for the purchase.
Okay, is there a motion to authorize this purchase?
Second.
Discussion or questions? Yes.
Just to clarify, so you said that there is $1,000 budgeted in each of the, so there's 200, there's 200 total budgeted?
Correct.
Okay.
Those things are expensive.
They are. It's one of our large dump trucks with salt spreaders fully outfitted to plow snow.
And it's used all the time.
I think I remember when we discussed the purchase of this thing when we were doing the budget.
Yes, this is a
Last
budgeted purchase in our capital outlay program, capital improvement program, yes.
Yeah, I remember this.
Are we ready for a vote?
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yeah.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carried.
15B, I'd like to ask Director Robert Barrett to join me at the podium to discuss our resolution in support of a Safe Routes to School grant program. Take it away, Rob. This is a great application.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. Before you is a resolution to support Safe Routes to School. Yeshiva Beth Yehuda Schools in the City of Oak Park in the process of applying for a Safe Route to School federally funded grant. If awarded this grant, we will construct infrastructure projects throughout the city, including sidewalks, crosswalks, left turn phase, traffic signal, and installation of additional sidewalk to encourage children to bicycle and walk safely to school. As part of the grant, the City of Oak Park agrees to fund non-eligible costs such as administrative, coordination, permit fees, preliminary engineering, right-of-way acquisition, and construction engineering services related to the implementation of the Safe Routes to School project. The resolution also designates Assistant City Manager Kevin Yee and myself as agents for the City of Oak Park. As recommended, the City Council approve the attached resolution in support of the grant
No, we don't have.
for Safe Routes to School program. Further, I'd like to mention that we've been working really hard behind the scenes, having the students and the parents perform surveys. We did a walking tour of where the kids walk to school, and there's been a lot of work going behind this process. And right now, today, we've been assisted by OHM, Jessica Caters and Hannah McManus, and they're going to do a presentation of our action plan.
Ah. When was this? Oh, right now.
Right now.
Don't wait.
How do we get that?
Welcome.
They'll move it.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Caters, and I work with OHM Advisors, and I have Hannah McManus as a project engineer that's been working with the city and the school district on this application effort. And I'm just going to give a brief history of where we are today and what Safe Routes is to the community. What does Safe Routes look like? It's an international movement. It's now a federal program. Many communities in the southeast Michigan have taken advantage of using this program to make safe, convenient, and fun, walkable infrastructure for children to use in schools. And they also, this infrastructure also doubly benefits the community as well. The two buildings that we looked at are both located on 10 Mile. the elementary, middle school, and the high school preschool building located on 10 Mile at Church Street. And the red dots are, those are school families and students that would utilize the Safe Routes infrastructure that's in this area. So this is the middle school building, and then this is the preschool, high school building. So quite a few student families in that area that would use the walking infrastructure. As Rob stated, there's quite a process that's already been gone through. We actually had a public outreach meeting last Tuesday evening here in the council chambers. And prior to that, we've collected parent and student surveys, performed the walking audits, sent the draft action plan through all of the team members to get feedback. And from this point, we're looking for the resolution and hoping to submit the grant next Tuesday for consideration at the MDOT, the state level. The program has what are considered the E's. We have education, encouragement, enforcement, and equity. These E's we looked at with the action planning teams to determine how to better educate the students on how to walk safely to school, what routes to use, what parents should be looking for on how to teach their children to navigate active transportation. Encouragement looks to incentivize a walking program to school. Enforcement, we look to partnering with the local law enforcement to address the traffic concerns in the area, and a lot of times this portion of the meeting will bring about areas that need additional patrolling. And equity looks to make sure that all Safe Routes to School initiatives are benefiting all communities. The last E, the major E for this component, is the engineering portion, and this is where the infrastructure would be installed. If I can just back up 1 second, the grant program, there's a major grant and a minor grant. The major grant is $200,000 per campus, and the minor grant is $8,000 for those programming aspects that we just talked about per each campus. So in total, the two campuses that we've looked at have a total of $416,000 available to apply for grants. I'm going to pass it over to Hannah, and she's going to walk through the action plan that we came up with.
All right, so during our walking audits that Rob mentioned, we focused on different priorities that we felt were needed to help kids have a safe route to school. So I'm going to go through each of them, and we split them up between the two schools as they will both utilize these priorities. So our first one was to install a mid-block pedestrian crossing on 10 Mile Road. And this is just east of East Rue Versailles Drive and west of Young Israel of Oak Park. This mid-block pedestrian crossing, we have a little diagram. It would be a staggered crossing, and that way they would have the refuge in the middle to stop at, and they can cross, since it's 5 lanes, they can cross in 2 phases. Second priority was there's quite a few non-compliant, non-ADA compliant intersections in the neighborhood to the south of 10 Mile between Turch and Greenfield. We noticed a number of them on our walking audit, and we would like to upgrade them to become ADA compliant by adding detectable warning spaces, removing sidewalks that may not have a refuge point, and making sure that the ramps are compliant. We also would like to install a rectangular rapid flashing beacon at the school crossing that's south of Belfour Avenue. This would add extra visibility for students that are crossing, and these beacons are also pedestrian activated, so students can push the button when they come up to the intersection to cross. The other one is on Lincoln Street. There's currently 2 crossings from Marlowe Place to Briar Drive, and we wanted to eliminate the crossing to the west and add a rectangular rapid flashing beacon at the crossing to the east. That way we are designated one crossing for students to use, and also, again, adding that extra visibility as traffic was a big concern on Lincoln Street and speeding. Here's just an example, too, of the rectangular rapid flashing beacons that would be utilized at these crossings. Another concern was the pedestrian refuge crossing Greenfield Road on 10 Mile. These crossings are meant to be done in 2 phases, and one of the concerns with families that had maybe children walking across the street is they didn't feel safe standing in the middle of that intersection, so we wanted to widen the refuge and just kind of help have more space for those to stand in while they're waiting for the next phase to cross. And then, last but not least, we wanted to install a left turn phase on 10 Mile Road, turning left onto Church Street. We've heard that traffic backs up here, and that people turning left cuts into the pedestrian phase of kids crossing the street, which doesn't give them enough time to cross the street. Therefore, they may be crossing as traffic is coming. So we wanted to install the left turn phase, that way kids will be able to cross during their pedestrian phase. All right.
Yes, City Manager Chungi.
Well, I want to thank both of you for your hard work on this. When Director Barrett showed me these recommendations in my office, I have to say I'm very rarely so elated I might fall out of my chair, but this was one of those examples. And Director Barrett, thank you so much for your leadership. This is the kind of stuff, in my opinion, that government should be doing more of, and that is making sure that our pedestrians are safe. And this does it, and then some, and especially because we've added in this possibility that the island on Greenfield at Lincoln, or at 10 Mile, I should say, will be enlarged. That's been a constant concern, and hopefully we can take this on. I do have a question for Director Barrett. We budgeted $200,000 in our capital improvement plan budget. How much of that do you think we'll end up spending?
Well, if we're awarded the full $400,000 for these infrastructure, there's typically at 80% MDOT grant and then 20% match, but right now MDOT is really trying to encourage this program, so unless they remove that incentive from the program, currently they're taking on the full 100% of the infrastructure cost. So we would be on the hook for the preliminary engineering, the construction engineering, the permit costs, which is typically 25% of a project, or around $100,000.
That's music to my ears. Thank you, sir.
That's dream come true. These have been dangerous places for many years. People have talked about them, and now we are getting them taken care of beautifully. The designs are beautiful. They're really improving the area as well as improving the safety. So thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I also just want to thank you, and hopefully we can get more of this, because there are other intersections in the city that I think also need to be addressed. So I think of this as like phase 1 in a larger process. Thank you so much for all of your work.
This is phase 1. We're going to reach out to all the school districts and systematically take on some of these unsafe crossings.
That one at Lincoln and Marlowe Place, I can tell you because I live close to there. Avery School is right there, and I see children crossing every day there. And it scares me sometimes, so it's great to see that this is going to make it safer.
This is a great thing, and it's, I was wondering the same question that Councilmember Weiss was asking, if we could reapply at another time in another year for a different location in the city. So this is great, so thank you.
Well, great news. Do we vote to approve this resolution? Need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Discussion has already happened, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, roll call.
Mayor McClellan.
Absolutely.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Motion carried, and we are delighted.
Great job.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask Director Kimberly Maroney to join me at the podium for 15C through F. Hi, Kim.
Oh, sorry. A couple small things this year, and then he'll finish the project shortly afterwards. So 15C is for the unit 13831 9 Mile Road, which houses Dallas Designs. The total project cost is $8,900, and the recommendation is for you to approve the grant for the maximum of $2,500, which is a 50% grant reimbursement. This will cover the cost to replace the windows on that building and installing an awning.
Madam Mayor, can I
Yes.
make a suggestion? Perhaps we can have Director Maroney explain C, D, E, and F, and then we could just,
I think we have to do them separately.
well, I mean, we could do motions on them separately afterwards, but let's just have her run through them. I think we already know we're going to be, I shouldn't speak for the council, but I think we know how we're going to vote for this, so I think we just have her explain them all, and then we could just make 4 motions, make 4 votes, and move along so I can get to my son's Little League game.
It's however you want to do it.
Is that okay, Madam Mayor?
That-
Fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, and of course,
So these projects make the city look better, make make people want to come and shop here, want to make other businesses come and locate here because it looks better. So it's better for all of us.
The second one is for the location at 13821 9 Mile Road, Good Health Pharmacy. The total amount of that project is for replacing windows at $2,800. So we recommend approving the grant at a 50% match for a maximum of $1,400. The third one is 13807 9 Mile Road for Motown Body Oil. This again is for replacement of windows. The total cost of that is $3,300, and we recommend a grant match of $1,660. And the last one is for 13805 9 Mile Road, Shares in the Park, I should say. And we recommend a 50% grant match for $1,898. That one, sorry, since I'm doing these differently, I need to flip pages here. That one is covering just windows again, so the total cost of that portion was $37.95.
I'll make the motion to approve 15C for an amount not to exceed $2,500.
Okay, is there a
So
second?
moved.
Support.
I mean-
Good.
Support.
Okay.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes. Motion carried.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 15D for an amount not to exceed $1,400.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Burns, who is too sick to hear right now. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Motion
Madam Mayor,
carried.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 15E for an amount not to exceed $1,660.
Support.
Moved and supported. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
And lastly, I'd like to make a motion to approve 15F for an amount not to exceed $1,898.
Support.
Moved and supported.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you so much. We're happy when our businesses look better and do better.
I'd like to ask Director of Finance Sandra Crawford to join me at the podium for 15G, please, our quarterly budget amendments. Good evening, Sandra.
Turn it up a bit, is it?
Turn it off. Oh, sorry. Try again. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, and City Manager Tungate. Before you, there should be a revised or an updated budget amendment sheet and a resolution. And the funds that are highlighted in the red, which would be the library fund and the city-owned property fund, where it's indicated in red are the updates, and they came in after the deadline of submitting the agenda to the city clerks. Before you is a resolution asking for approval, asking for a resolution to be approved for the budget amendments for the fiscal year that we're currently in, which is 18-19. The city's annual adopted budget was on May 16th of 2018, and it is effective from July 1st to June 30th of 2019. The budget is adopted at the department level and in accordance with the State Budget Act. Amendments are to be completed throughout the fiscal year in order to reflect the most current information available related to revenue and expenditure budgets. The budget amendments that have a positive or negative impact on fund balance or change the department total require council's approval. The proposed amendments are based on the actual and projected activity to date. The fourth quarter, which we are in that quarter now, June 30th, 2019, budget amendments are attached and is also summarized below. The main takeaway from here is that for all the attachments that you have in the resolutions, they do not require us to dip into fund balance, and so we're still estimating the fund balance that we proposed in July 1st of 2018 here at June 30th, 2018, which is $3.894 million. Just to go over some of the additional details for the significant items, there were various salary and fringes benefit accounts were adjusted in many of the funds to reflect actual activity to date. And the adjustments to the budget include items such as changes for vacancies, increase in pension contributions, allocations to other funds, and variances in insurance costs due to the city being self-insured. Fines and fees revenue is up from prior year and budgeted due to greater collections of ticket revenue during the year. Business license and permit revenue, along with the state revenue sharing revenues, are greater than prior year and what was budgeted. Interest income is up significantly citywide due to increase in investment activity and the increase in the unrealized gains on long-term investments. Transfers out expenditures to the OPEB fund were increased for anticipated net extra revenue at the end of this fiscal year and to be in compliance with our corrective action plan that we submitted to the state. Expenditures were increased by $52,000 to cover the cost of emergency repairs to the fire truck and $13,500 to cover the cost of the special election for the schools. And also you can see that the revenue for those related reimbursements are noted in the budget amendments, and legal services for cases outside of the monthly retainer of about $20,000. Overall, healthcare costs citywide are slightly better than anticipated to date. The city, being self-insured, can realize significant swings both up and down, and to date the trend is favorable in many of the departments. Contributions to the motor pool were eliminated as they were not required to balance the annual budget. Overall, the net of this amendment balances the general fund on an annual basis while being able to pay the additional required pension payments and OPEB contributions and to balance the operating budget. Special revenue funds, the major street and local street funds, were adjusted to reflect estimated gas tax revenues through the year end per the state, along with other revenue adjustments to reflect activity to date. The major street budget was also increased to provide funding for the Sherman and Seneca Pocket Park renovations. The solid waste fund was able to balance the annual operating budget with a minor decrease in the overall revenue, offset by better than anticipated monthly rubbish collection costs. The Michigan Indigent Defense Fund is new this year, and the budget was adjusted to reflect the annual funding from the state along with the required match for the court. These are costs that historically would have been paid within the district court fund. Capital improvement funds. The Public Improvement Fund was amended to show a transfer to the general fund to cover the cost of several capital projects being paid in the general fund. The Municipal Complex Construction Fund budget was amended to use the remaining balance in the fund toward the City Hall roofing project. The Water and Sewer Fund adjustment is primarily for activity related to the SAW grant, along with salary and fringe benefit adjustments based on activity to date. The proposed budget amendment has an impact on the fund balance of the general fund while keeping the estimated fund balance at approximately 19% of annual expenditures. And the amendments to all other funds keep the fund balance at targeted ranges and are done in compliance with the state of Michigan requirements and guidelines. And the recommended action is approval of resolution to authorize budget amendments number 2019-2. Any questions?
If I could just piggyback on some of that, and I want to be very brief, but I want to summarize a couple of key points that Sandra just mentioned. First, we expect to end the fiscal year in the black for the fifth year in a row.
Yes.
Second, all excess funds, we've been disciplined enough to reinvest back into our long-term retirement liabilities and bring down the cost of our long-term pension and retiree health care systems. And then lastly, we are maintaining a general fund balance of right around 20%. I think it was negative 7% in 2012 when I took this job. So kudos to City Council for being disciplined, and kudos to you, Sandra, and the staff for doing a great job at keeping us on budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Authorize the,
Yeah, to authorize the budget amendment 2019-2.
okay, second.
Support?
Moved and supported. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Motion carried.
15H, I'd like to ask our esteemed colleague, Director Vicki Brooks, who we don't see as often, our Human Resources Director, to go over 15H, please. Hi, Vicki.
Hello,
Good evening.
Mayor, Council, City Attorney, and City Clerk. In an effort to establish employee training that will be more efficient and cost-effective than our current practices, and in keeping with industry changes relative to employee training, the city manager, along with the Human Resource Department, is desirous of moving to e-learning through the use of a cloud-based learning management system made available as a part of a professional services provided by Biz Library, a company called Biz Library. We're asking for approval of the signing of the documentation for implementation of the professional services contract with Biz Library for employee e-learning subject to the city attorney review. The contract amount is $8,941.77 annually and was approved as a part of our 1920 budget.
So this is a motion to approve this contract.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion? No, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you.
15I, Madam Mayor, members of council, is the discussion regarding the pride flag. Let me set the stage for a couple of points that I'll make and then some recommendations. I had been asked to examine the issue of whether or not the city would consider flying the pride flag in front of City Hall. And I did a whole bunch of research. And I've passed out a packet to you, and I apologize for the remedial nature of this, but I was moving very quickly. For council consideration, the City of Oak Park City Council reserves the right to choose which flags may or may not be flown at city-owned properties. Also, any flag flown shall comply with the U.S. Flag Code. There is a U.S. Flag Code set by federal statute. C, the city could consider requests for observances implemented by presidential proclamation, executive order, and public law as shown in Exhibit A, and or government flags. Now, with regards to the pride flag, this June is Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. And that has been designated by presidential proclamation. There was a hint at the proclamation back in the 90s when President Clinton was in office, and then back on May 28th of 2010, President Obama, by proclamation 8529, I won't read it all, but it establishes this month as Pride Month. If you accept these guidelines in terms of outline for policy, I think that all requests for flag flying should be received at least 30 days prior. I'm not saying this specific issue should be, but going forward it should be. We will need 30 days to prepare, of course. The requester, I believe, should provide a flag that is 3 feet by 5 feet with placement for holes to put on our city flagpole out here. And the requester shall at least specify the length of time the flag shall be flown, which cannot exceed a 31-day period if you adopt these guidelines. And this would be guidelines, again, establishing the months by presidential proclamation, the observances of the months by presidential proclamation, executive order, or public law. I'm happy to take questions on this issue.
First, can we have a motion to adopt the administrative guidelines and flag policy?
So moved.
Can I, I'm sorry.
Can we have a second first, before the discussion?
It's not about that. It's a point of order. Can I ask you to please withdraw your motion and allow me to make the motion?
I withdraw my motion.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion with a couple of caveats, because considering that this was a policy which was kind of created on the fly, and just so everybody here is aware, Mr. Tungate and I spent some time on the phone today talking about this, and making sure that whatever policy it is that we put on the table today is going to create a policy that will be able to apply to everybody, because again, it has to be content neutral. You can't say we're going to go and create a policy that will allow us to fly this group's flag but not this group's flag, or a flag that celebrates one thing but not the other thing. There's an example of something like this, some unintended consequences that's taking place in Boston right now, where there's about to be a straight pride parade which is going to be held. It's going to happen. The city had to approve it pending litigation. Or I guess in the face of possible litigation. So what we need to do is we need to create a policy which is completely content neutral, but also creates enough guidance that we can fly flags that are essentially allowed by either presidential proclamation, executive order, or public law. So the way that I want to make this motion is I'd like to approve this pending review of our attorney to make sure that not only is the policy itself not unconstitutionally vague and ambiguous as written, and I think you did a great job, but again, it was on the fly, and I'd like to have an attorney review it who's actually an expert in this, as well as everything on Exhibit A, to make sure that all of those things are currently subject to a current active either proclamation, executive order, or public law. So that's going to be my motion. Does that make any sense, or should I start over?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking Mr. Norris, because he's got to take it down. Okay, so that's my motion.
So it's to adopt the administrative guidelines and flag policy.
Pending review of our attorney
of
to
the
make sure,
attorney.
yeah, pending review of the attorney.
Okay.
Support.
We have support. Do we have discussion?
Madam Mayor, may I just add
Yes,
something?
please.
I just wanted to add, I mean, maybe I didn't clarify, but in your packet that I just provided to you, January has been designated by public law as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Month. February is African American History Month as designated by executive order. March is National Women's History Month by public law. May, Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, executive order. Pride Month was designated, as I mentioned, by proclamation. September is National Hispanic Heritage Month by executive order. October, National Disability Employment Awareness Month by executive order. November is National American Indian Alaska Native Heritage Month by presidential proclamation and executive order. So though if you, the proclamation executive order aspect of this policy that I'm recommending to you those would be the ones to consider. That does not account for the public law portion, and to the Mayor Pro Tem's point, I think that's what needs some more examination from our legal staff.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
2 points. First, the first point is more of a legalistic procedural point, and the second one a little different. I note that this proposal, which was given to us shortly before this meeting, that paragraph A says the City of Oak Park City Council reserves the right to choose which flags may or may not be flown at city-owned properties. Maybe the American flag should be chosen not to be shown, not to be flown. I'd be horrified if that happened, but as written, the city can reserve the right to choose which flags and can remove the American flag. I note that when we started, this is the second point, when we started this meeting, I think even before we took roll, we pledged allegiance to a flag. I took the time to write it down so I could look at the words we said. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one nation under God with liberty and justice for all, indivisible and with liberty and justice for all. The operative word is the particle the flag, singular. In 1777, the Continental Congress decided on a flag. It had red and white stripes, 13 of them, representing the 13 colonies. It had blue in the corner and 13 stars. It was described by one member of the Congress as representing a new constellation. In 1818, Congress passed a law saying, yeah, we're going to keep the 13 stripes, but we're going to add a star every time a new state comes in. In 1777, someone in the Continental Congress noted that the red in the flag symbolizes valor, bravery. The white in our flag symbolizes purity and innocence, and the blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The star, of course, as noted in 1777, was a symbol of the heavens and the divine goals to which man has aspired to for time immemorial. We have a city flag. Presumably we got a county flag. I don't know what that would look like. But the city flag covers everybody in the city. The state flag, which we have over here, covers everybody in the state, and of course the American flag covers everybody in the country. Presidents can make proclamations. We can go ahead and have special days and special months for people. But a flag is a special thing, and I think that it would be appropriate for our city to maintain what we've probably done for the past 74 years since the founding of the city, the chartering of the city in 1945. We'll fly the American flag. I would be opposed to flying any other flag other than the American flag, the city flag, the state flag. If there's a county flag, we can fly it. That's my position.
I have a question. Are there ever any other flags that we fly up there? Wasn't there one recently?
Yeah, we are per proclamation of our own, and this was also, I believe, through executive order. I'd have to go back and look at it, but we are, as of just today, I believe was when we took it down because that was the time frame. But we were flying a flag in recognition of 100-year anniversary of women's suffrage.
Okay, so Madam Mayor, if I may continue.
Please.
At first, my initial thoughts were exactly what Councilmember Rich just said. I think that there should be government flags up there and nothing else. That's deep down what I believe. I don't think we should fly anything else. But then I started to think to myself, what about on MLK Day? Should we not fly something in recognition of that? What about women's suffrage, which we just flew a flag floor in honor of that just a short time ago? And that's when I kind of started to think to myself, okay, there has to be more flags that we're willing to fly, but there have to be guidelines that are put in place so that for purposes of the Equal Protection Clause and constitutional lack of vagueness and ambiguity for constitutional purposes, it has to explain what can be flown and what cannot be flown with content-neutral rules. And that's why I think that this proclamation, as written, is good. And Councilmember Rich knows that I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. In fact, I consider him a friend and a mentor. He used to be my employer when I was in law school. I disagree on this, and I do plan on voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Further comment?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, please.
Just for some clarification, to Councilmember Rich's point about choosing which flags to fly, it's my understanding that we are federally mandated to fly the American flag. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Actually, on B there, and I did this in haste, and I do apologize that it's not alliterated better, but in B, any flag flown shall comply with the U.S. Flag Code. Actually, what we found was that per U.S. Flag Code, which is, again, is a federal statute, the U.S. flag, no matter what other flags are flying, has to be flown higher, physically higher than all of the other flags. So this one here would not be in compliance, and even the one here at City Hall would not be in compliance unless we counted the other one at the court building. So no matter what, to be compliant with that, we would have to fly the U.S. flag higher than all of the other flags.
Great, thank you. Also, for clarification purposes, I know that this final draft was written fairly quickly, but my understanding is that we have been in touch. And I know I've been in touch with City Attorney about the language. Is there any issues with this language currently? Do you know if City Attorney's had a chance to look it over?
I'm not aware of any issues right now, but we would need a little bit more time, given the constraints that we worked under this week.
Okay, and then obviously it is, what is it, the 17th of June? Would this be able to be approved on a timely basis so that we could actually get the flag, if it is approved, get the flag up before the end of the month?
It would not be possible to fly the flag by the end of the month if we are waiting until the next council meeting for more policy direction. If
Wait a second. I don't think that's right. That's why what I said with my motion was we're approving the policy tonight, but the final written policy that we're going to have in effect is going to be approved by our city attorney. And I don't know, maybe our city attorney can weigh in on this.
I was about to get to that,
I'm
though.
creating
Just
a
let me
really
finish.
dangerous legal situation, but
If we adopt a 30-day notification process as part of our policy going forward, not for this specific instance regarding the pride flag, then we would need 30 days to prepare for requests. That is, unless you want to do the pride flag now in recognition of Pride Month, which, as you correctly state, we're in the middle of.
There was another organization, and I can't recall recently, and they wanted us to proclamate a certain day, but we told them they could not because they were not within the time frame, the 30-day time frame.
I'm not aware of that. I know if you accept the guidelines that I've provided, it'd be very strict in terms of the occurrences where the national observances, I should say, where a request to fly a flag would be considered. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but if it's the women's suffrage.
No, it was not in regards to a flag. It was in regards to another process that we had in place, and we had to turn them down because they were not within the required time frame.
And they came back this year.
And then they came back this year.
Oh, it's gun violence. Okay, I can't speak to that, but.
I can't remember. Yeah.
So
It was more than one.
we can approve this policy to start with. Are we ready?
Point of order, real quick. So just to clarify with this motion, do we need a separate motion
Yeah.
in order to approve if we are to approve this motion, will we also need a separate motion to approve the pride flag without the 30-day notification?
I think so. I think that'd provide clarity if you're asking me.
Okay.
I'll defer to
So
these
it'll be
but-
two motions.
Right.
So then I guess,
One for the policy and one for the exception.
got it. So we already have this motion on the floor, so we would have to
We do.
deal with this
so
motion
then
first.
I have a question for our city attorney. Once we start making exceptions for one flag or one group's flag, are we setting ourselves up
Time
for,
exception. Time.
whether it's a time exception or not, once,
Because the group has already been accepted nationally. And
I
so-
understand, no, I understand that. What I'm saying is the policy that we're about to adopt has nothing to do with the pride flag, explicitly. What it has to do with is that the pride flag is one of a number of flags
accepted
that
flags.
will be able to be flown given this policy that we may enact. My concern, and this is the civil rights lawyer in me that's looking in terms of equal protection and how we can get into trouble with this if another group comes and says, well, we want an exception also. Why is it that the pride flag gets an exception, but our flag for the NRA doesn't? What about our flag for?
The NRA isn't one of the 12 that's accepted nationally.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that if, once we start making exceptions, and that's why I'm asking our city attorney, I'd really like to hear her weigh in on this. Once we start making exceptions, my concern is that we're setting ourselves up for some sort of equal protection lawsuit in the future by a group that doesn't get the same courtesy. And I know this was kind of thrown together last second, and I actually helped draft this thing together with Eric. So, it just as we're kind of throwing it together and deciding to vote on it, and now we need a second motion also, it's just a concern that I have. Are we setting ourselves up for a legal battle that we really don't want to have?
My interpretation of this as written right now is that it is content neutral because you're specifically deferring to observances implemented by presidential proclamation. So to the extent that you're relying upon the federal government to make that determination for you, I completely appreciate your concern. But if you are not making an arbitrary decision as to which groups qualify and you're referring instead to the federal determination, I think that it is in fact content neutral and you are making that decision based on objective criteria.
And then if we have a second motion to waive the 30 days, is that going to create an equal protection problem for us in the future?
As long as you're still only implementing this policy as to the observances implemented by the presidential proclamation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I have a
Ready to
question,
vote?
Madam Mayor, just one question for the materials that were given to us just shortly before the meeting by Mr. Tungate. Question for you. You've listed here Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., African American History Month, National Women's History Month, Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and National American Indian Alaska Native Heritage Month. You listed those in addition to the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. Aside from the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month, are you aware of any flags for any of these other days and months that have been honored by our federal government?
I am not, but that doesn't mean much, because I just don't know. That will require more research.
And by the way, if I could just chime in on this, the pride flag is not, as far as I know, I could be wrong about this, is not a flag that has been recognized by proclamation, executive order, or public law as being the pride flag. Just like if, let's say, somebody comes to us in January, or I guess it would be in December, and say, here's a flag of Dr. Martin Luther King, and they follow all the guidelines and the policies that we put in place right now, and say that they want this flag flown in honor of Martin Luther King Month. Or if somebody comes to us with a nice Asian Pacific American Heritage Month flag, and says, here, I'd like to fly this flag in May, even though there's no official enactment saying this is the flag, what we're basically saying is that we're going to fly.
We're going to fly what?
I don't know.
Solomon, you've made my point.
Madam
Mayor.
You have made my point.
May I speak to that?
No, Madam Mayor,
wait a minute.
Mr. Radner
City
has
Manager
made my
Tungate.
point that there is.
City Manager Tungate has the floor for a
All
minute.
right.
There, in looking at this, and keep in mind, I'm not the lawyer of the city, so I'm looking at this strictly administratively, giving it my best 2 cents. There is no way to fully eliminate that. At some point, there has to be discretion placed into the decision about whether or not we're flying a flag. Personally speaking, as I looked at the list of months and things, I saw this as an inclusive list of activities. Under no circumstances did I, and I'm somebody in my mid-40s, under no circumstances, and maybe that's why, but did I think that this was an exclusive group. This is only to include. And if you look at, I think I provided you guys with a copy of the presidential proclamation from President Obama back in 2010, and that's exactly what the presidential proclamation is talking about, is the inclusiveness of this movement. And I'm not sure if he cited the flag, but there's no doubt any reasonable person would associate the rainbow flag as associated with Pride Month. There's no doubt. That is a direct association. Do the others have them? I don't know. We'll have to.
Madam Mayor?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Rich.
that's the point, Mr. Tungate. Yes, we all have a clue what the pride flag looks like. We have no clue what any other of these flags look like. And we're going to set up a situation where we're going to have to evaluate, is this really a flag for Asian Pacific? Is it not? You know, we're stewards of the city's money. We're fiduciaries here. We don't need to buy lawsuits. We don't need to set up situations where we're going to be using our discretion with regard to different matters of identity and what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. I think we're setting ourselves up for future problems. That's all.
Madam Mayor?
Councilmember Weiss.
An important note to this, and I don't know if this speaks only to flags, but any display, I would think, on city property, for example, if we put up banners celebrating MLK Day, would that also be covered under here? Because several cities do that, and it's a national holiday, and I don't see why there would necessarily be an issue with that. Is this only flags, or is this any type of display?
Are you asking me that? In my opinion, again, there is never going to be a situation where it's a rubber stamp. I mean, every single one of these requests has to come to City Council, which is why I wanted to make it clear that City Council reserves the right to choose which flags may or may not be flown at city-owned properties. That's the majority of you have that right. You maintain that right regardless. Again, personally speaking, I look at each one of these observed months and their causes and think none of them are exclusive. If we had banners for Martin Luther King, it's a wonderful thing. Right. Could only be so lucky to celebrate that. And the same goes for Pride Month. I think it's an inclusive activity. I don't, and practically speaking, as the city administrator, I'll tell you, it's a cheap way to engage people. If flying a flag makes a certain group of our society and our city feel more a part of it, well, we just won that battle pretty cheaply because we try to engage people all the time of all walks of life, in my opinion.
Amen. Yep,
If our attorney's okay with it, I'm okay with it. And it sounds like she is.
we want everybody to feel totally welcome in our city. And all of this legalistic discussion does not mean that you are not so welcome. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Oh, sorry, Madam Mayor. For clarification, we're voting on to approve.
We are voting first on the just general, this is an okay guideline, this is an okay policy. We're going to adopt this policy as written here. With
Pending
pending the
approval.
review of the
Right.
attorney. All right.
Councilmember Rich.
No.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
No.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you, 3-2. The next motion, I believe, is the exception for this, since this just came up, we didn't have a flag guidelines before all of this came up. We didn't have any guidelines at all. And I thought, we really ought to have some guidelines, or we're gonna wind up with some flags from some groups that are difficult to support. So we are asking now for an exception to the 30-day requirement to allow us to fly the pride flag this year.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Discussion.
Yes. I just want to make it clear for the record, I think it should be given enough time to go to our attorneys. That's all. I
Thank
think
you.
it's inappropriate otherwise.
Anybody else?
I'd like to ask our city attorney what her thoughts are.
And I think it's unfair to put the city attorney on the spot right now when this matter came before this council about 10 or 20 minutes before the meeting.
Do you need more time to research this? I mean, I know that this is an extremely complicated topic.
It is, and the city city attorney would reserve the right to review any proposal as to form.
What I'm asking, though, is to the motion that's pending on the table right now.
So this one for the
That we create
exception
an
of the
exception.
30 days. Should that be added pending council review?
My recommendation would be that if you are going to approve an exception, that you reserve the right to review exceptions for any future groups that may come before council for approval as well, so that you can objectively afford any group the same opportunity to have that right waived if council deems it appropriate.
So what language are you asking us to put into this motion?
Subject to reservation that any future group who comes before council for approval under the same topic would be afforded the same consideration for council to waive the 30-day requirement.
So then the 30-day requirement is really not real.
Well-
The policy says 30 days unless we
We've been
decide to waive
enforcing
it.
Thus far.
Well, my recommendation comes with the objective of affording everyone an equal opportunity to have that 30-day requirement waived. It doesn't mean that it's going to be appropriate in all circumstances, but I'm just recommending that you, if you're going to do it in this case, that you.
Should I amend my motion then?
To add
Because that's what we've been
what the
doing in the past.
what the attorney added?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't procedurally, I'm not sure how to word this, but I would like to amend my motion. Do I need to withdraw it and then resubmit it?
Ed?
It's, it's on the floor.
Yeah,
It's on the
Councilmember Rich
floor.
just had a good idea. We could vote it down and then have a new motion.
It's on the floor.
She
Can't
can't
amend it?
withdraw her motion?
It's already on the floor.
She could withdraw if everyone agreed.
I move to withdraw my motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, you have a new motion.
I would like to make a new motion that we waive the 30-day requirement for, we vote to waive the 30-day requirement for the pride flag, and furthermore, that we would consider in the future waiving that 30-day requirement for other groups that meet our listed requirement within the policies that we just approved.
Is that fine?
And hopefully you can clean that up.
We ready for a vote on that one?
Can we throw a good cause line in there? Because obviously there's good cause this time around. The policy wasn't even in place until there's not enough 30 days. I know you know what I mean by good cause, but can we throw in, can I second it so long as there's a good cause requirement of why you're not within 30 days?
Yeah, you have to make an amendment, Solomon.
No, just, don't worry.
Well, no one has seconded it yet, so I can just
Yeah, okay, so then-
finish making my motion.
Oh, okay, fine, so go ahead.
Including a good
cause showing.
say it again?
A good cause showing.
A good cause showing for why the 30-day waiver is required.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got it seconded. This is what happens when you have 3 attorneys up here. Just saying. All right, are we ready to vote then? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
No.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
No.
Motion carries 3-2. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of council, that actually completes the city manager report for this evening. Thank you very much. Have a good evening,
That was
everybody.
exciting. We now have what you're probably all here for, which is call to the audience. Please loudly give us your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Madam Mayor, I apologize. Can I interject for a quick second, please?
Yes?
Would you find it very disrespectful if I left?
His
I'd like to
son
get to
is
my
in
son's Little League game. I know that there are a lot of people here to talk. I stuck around for as long as necessary to get to all the business, but I'd really like to go.
We agree. Family first. This is the family city.
That's right, family city.
Thank you for coming, and give us, would you be the timer then? Okay. Give us your name and address, and thanks for coming.
My name is John Klein. I live at 14021 Balfour Street in Oak Park, and I'm here to put on the public record my gratitude to Eric Tungate, the City Council, the Mayor Pro Tem, and the mayor for actually placing the four-way stop sign in a very timely manner at the corner of Balfour and Kipling. I live very close to that corner, and I can tell you, as a matter of anecdote, that the entire traffic pattern has changed on that corner. There is no honking anymore, and there's very little speeding now, and I have not seen anybody fly through the stop sign since it's been put up. And so I want to thank you all. Thank you very much.
It does feel safer. Thank you. Give us your name and address. Thanks for coming.
Hi, my name is Julia Music. I'm actually a Ferndale resident. Do you need the rest of the address as well? 436 Silman, Ferndale, Michigan. I run the Ferndale Pride Festival, which is a very large LGBT festival in the state of Michigan, as many people know. I wanted to speak to you about two things that I think your council should know about. Two of our major players at Ferndale Pride, volunteers who give, we're talking about 100 hours of their time per year to the event, are Oak Park residents, and those are Tyler Belts, right there, who just got married at Pride Festival. He's been our live feed master for the last several years, but I've had the joy of watching Tyler grow up as he's as I've been a resident, watching him in the coffee shops as he's grown. And the other person is Gordon Mattson, right there. Gordon came to us as our mascot starting in the first year and has grown to be known as the Pope of Pride. So many people want to get their pictures with him, and they're both Oak Park residents, very proud of the city they live in. So I wanted to let you know that these two people reside in your city, and they're very important to our city as well. The other thing I wanted to let you know about is I have a lot of joys in my job. It's a fantastic job. I don't think there's actually a better job in the world for me. But there's one thing that's really sad for me, and that is when I sit down next to someone at the end of the night after Pride's over, and I say, hey, where are you from? I've never seen you out at Soho or in Ferndale before. And they say, I'm from, and they name a city right outside of Ferndale. And they say, but you've never seen me here, and you'll never see me again. You might see me next Pride. And that is because they're so afraid to be out that the only time they are out is that one day a year at the Pride Festival in Ferndale. And when a city does things like display a flag, a rainbow pride flag, it helps people realize that it's okay to be out in their own city. It's okay to be out every single day of their life. It's okay to live the life that they are meant to live. And so your show of supporting the pride flag is a really big deal. And it might not be a big deal to some of the people in the room that get to live the life that they were born to live as an out person every day. But I guarantee there's someone at home who will see that flag, who lives in your city, who's not able to be out, and it'll change their life. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Tim Oswala, 23280 Sherman. I'm the mascot's husband. I just have one question. You objected to everything, but there was no explanation for your objection. I heard everyone else's point, and I agree with everyone else's point. I understand his point, I understand everyone else, but you made no statement, you just said a flat-out no.
We don't have back and forth discussions, but thank you for your comment, and we'll try and get an answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good evening, Council. My name is Tyler Belts. My address is 10141 Albany. First of all, I'd just like to thank... First of all, I just want to thank each and every one of you for today and taking the time. I know it was last minute, so I really do appreciate that. And just for the record, the colors on this flag, they each individually mean something. So whether, as Julia said, whether it may not mean something to some of us in the room, it means a difference when you're walking down the streets of this city and you want to feel welcomed, but you get people honking at you. You get people calling you names, wanting to beat your, excuse my language, ass for simply being who you are. So like the mayor said earlier, you know, Oak Park wants to be welcoming. They want you here. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not, you know, being disrespectful to any other organization or any other belief or what have you. If they want to fly a flag, come to the city, get your community involved, and get it approved, as we did today. It's not to disclude anybody, but the colors on this flag mean something. And even in states all across the U.S., still to this day, you can be fired, you can be discriminated against, you can get denied housing for simply being gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. That is, it's still a problem. And we've evolved so much, but we still have a lot to go. And by flying this flag in our city, this will connect our residents, our business owners, and let them know that we have a safe city and public officials, elected officials, that believe and support us and do not discriminate regardless of our gender, our sexual orientation, or our identity. So I just want to thank you guys so much today. And on behalf of Julia Music, Ferndale Pride, myself, and Jeffrey Oliver, we do have a flag for you guys to flag outside. Thank you guys so much.
Hello, my name is Ryan Mims, resident of Roseville, 30804 Utica Road. I'm here today.
Holler a little bit. I just had my hearing tested.
Okay. I'm here today to hopefully get the pride flag raised. It means a lot to us. I'm sure we do know and understand that the American flag is a symbol of all of us United citizens. The pride flag is a symbol of the LGBT people that are in this world. We are our own individuals because we stand aside of people that have homophobia. This is important to us. It gives people assurance that we are important to the city. We are important to this world. We have to deal with on a daily basis, as Tyler said, getting called names, walking down the street, getting shouted things out the windows. It's just horrifying, you know. This flag matters to us. I want to give recognition to other cities that do have the flag up. As far as Lansing did just get a flag put up for Pride. We do have Hazel Park that has a flag raised. We have Ferndale that has a flag raised as well. Oak Park is a city close to Ferndale, very close within the area. We just hope that you guys come together and give us this chance to also have a flag raised. Thank you.
Good evening.
Give us your name and address.
My name is Jeffrey Olivier. I live at 57 East Milton, Hazel Park. Actually, many of my friends and some family actually live right here in Oak Park.
Tell them they have a friend in the mayor's office.
And even our own state representative, Robert Wittenberg, resides here. Just to let you know, not only at a national level, but also at a state level, our governor, Gretchen Whittemire, declared June Pride Month right here in the state of Michigan. Even our Attorney General, Dana Nessel, I'm sure they would be happy to help you in any way they could. But I work with I'm a director of an organization called Michigan LGBT Peer Support Network. We start up groups in areas that don't have any LGBT support groups, especially in the high schools, where it's the most challenging time for LGBT people to come out, because it's very easy for them to be thrown out of their home or to commit suicide and are bullied on a high rate. So flying that flag in the city of Oak Park gives those people hope that they can come out and be who they are without being bullied in the city of in the city of Oak Park. Also, not only that, but if I was driving through Oak Park and I saw that flag, I might say, you know, this is a safe city that I could shop in, and maybe, who knows, maybe I'd want to purchase my next home here. those type of things are really important. And we're not trying to be separate to anybody. We're trying to be a part of everybody. And so I think that flag really means a lot to the residents of Oak Park. Actually, our city did a proclamation which provided by the city council. They provided saying that they declared June as Pride Month in the seat of Hazel Park, which our flag is flown at 9 and John R. Every day with the American flag. And that flag represents actually all of us in a way, because it allows us to celebrate diversity. That Oak Park is welcome to everyone. It doesn't matter who they are or how different they are, or what race or what color or what orientation they are. That flag represents all of us, that we are. Well, thank you.
Would you finish your sentence?
That flag represents all of us in many ways.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think all of us have felt odd at some time. All of us. Our
Right.
ears stick out or something.
But we have the ability to change things.
We have an ability to be accepting. Thank
Right.
you. Got a new topic, I think.
We'll change the topic.
Okay.
John Nachman, 10730 Northfield, Oak Park. I will be the first one to turn in my committee form to you tomorrow, Eric, so hopefully I'll be on the board. You said there's going to be 5, right? Or rotating?
I think it's four
Four?
residents and 1 council member.
Okay.
Or voting members.
I thought it was 5 voting members and then 2 ex officio, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, because I like what these ladies that left were talking about with the school improvements, the safer zones. So I see that as an incorporation into the overall traffic safety thing. So I'd like to, if we do form this committee, work with them too, because they sound extremely knowledgeable. They've done the walking around and surveying and have the engineering skills. So I'll be turning that in tomorrow, and we'll get the ball rolling here.
Wonderful, wonderful.
All right.
City Manager Tungate, about how the people will be chosen.
Right. I just wanted to provide some clarification. There are 5 voting members, one of which is slated to be a city council member. But I will also say that in our form of government, I do not make those appointments. City council makes those appointments. So if you or others are interested, by the way, I'd already known you were interested, so I've submitted that already. But for you, but if you are interested, please submit your application to the city clerk's office, and then they will relay it to city council accordingly. But also, lastly, keep in mind that this is just a first reading. We have a second reading, and then it becomes law 10 days after the second reading, if that should pass. So we got a little ways to go first.
Yeah, because it's a
But
new
thank you.
committee, it's not on the form itself, so I have to write at the bottom
Yeah.
what I'm applying for.
Yep.
And then turn it in tomorrow. And
Exactly.
It's not
go
on
from
our old
there.
form. It's a new one.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We haven't updated the form yet to
Very
include
rare.
it.
All right.
Yep.
My name is Gordon Mattson. I reside at 23280 Sherman Street, Oak Park. Thank you for considering raising the rainbow flag in the city of Oak Park, which I would be very proud of my city saying my city is flying your flag, as well as Ferndale, Hazel Park, and the city of Detroit. The other concern I have, or now I say recommendation, now that my street will be closed at 9 Mile with the redesign, with the pocket park and Seneca, now that we flip the stop sign at Roanoke to be a stop sign at Kenwood and a thoroughfare through Roanoke, I would make a recommendation, to consider that being changed to a four-way stop, being that Roanoke now will be a thoroughfare from 9 Mile to 696.
Hopefully, this commission will be looking at the whole city and everything that should be done, and you can submit recommendations to that
Okay,
committee.
thank you very much.
Thank you. We got more time than money. Anybody else? No? Quiet, the rest of you? All right. Let's see. Councilmember Burns, if you could.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Even though I voted no, it still passed, so the flag is going to be flown. Have a good night, everyone.
Councilmember Weiss?
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Obviously, thank you, everyone who came out in support of the Pride flag and sharing your stories and bringing awareness to the issue. Also, thank you for everyone who came out in general. I love seeing a full council room. I wish this was more of the norm. So I encourage you to come out anytime you have any issues, and also to reach out to us if you have questions or things that you want to change, or things that you would like to see happen in the city. You can email us, you can reach out to the city manager, but I encourage everyone to do so that when there are issues, we can address them quickly. I want to let everyone know about a few events that are coming up. First of all, Friday is the official start to summer, and appropriately, it is also the official start to summer reading at the library. And it is for anyone ages, I should have wrote it down, birth through adult. So everyone can sign up for summer reading, and I believe there's going to be some special prizes for adults as well. So this is not just a program for kids. We encourage everyone to sign up. And the official kickoff for that is going to be on June 20th at the very first of the season summer concert series, featuring Thornetta Davis in Sherman Park. And so we encourage everyone to come out for that. And then the following Thursday, and this is throughout the summer, but the following Thursday on the 27th is the Couriers, which is a swing performance. Encourage everyone to come out to that as well. And on Wednesday, June 26th, the day before, is the official kickoff to the Farmers Market. So please come out, support some of these city events, and thank everyone so much again for coming out this evening. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Rich.
Good night.
Let's see, I think two things hadn't been covered. June 26th, the Wednesday, is the beginning of the farmers market season. So every Wednesday morning, starting with June 26th, we're going to have a farmers market right out here, which is going to be great fun. Lots of extra things this year. Starts at 9 in the morning and goes till 1. For the people who are working full-time during the day, we're going to have 3 Sunday days. Please come out and support the farmers market, because the more of you come out, the more people want to be vendors then, and we can get more Sundays. So if we support it, it'll grow. Several of us were out at Jefferson Oaks ribbon cutting. It is absolutely beautiful, fully occupied with a waiting list. Playground is planned and is on order, but you know how those things go, so it's coming. There was a question about crime, so I asked our Director of Public Safety what the crime was. There is no arrest has been made at Jefferson Oaks. There have been some police cars out there, 32 calls for service. The calls are as follows. 13 are for medical runs. Somebody was sick. 4 people got locked out of their car. 6, there were family troubles. 1 fire run. Very peaceful area, so don't let people talk to you about things that aren't happening. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. The idea of an affordable place for a working family it's getting to be a rare thing. There are people working full-time with an extra job who can't afford an apartment. And that is not okay. And I think the city of Ferndale is looking at the city of Oak Park and saying that we kind of started this great idea, and we're having 2 places, Jefferson Oaks and a Coolidge Place, for affordable housing. And it's not for those people, it's for all of us. All of us are about 1 paycheck away from being one of those people. I personally had been one of those people and would have easily qualified for Jefferson Oaks. Mental illness was an issue in our family, and suddenly we went from a nice middle-class life to $4,000 below poverty level. So those people could be any of us sitting in this room, and we welcome them to our city the same way we welcome everyone to our city, because we are an inclusive city. Thank you for coming, and good night.
Thanks for your nice words, I appreciate it.
I was amazed how quickly we
Please apply. It's online. What's that? Yes, of course. Oh my gosh, are you better? How high can you reach? Right. Golly gracious mercy. I've been great. It's been on the slide. Give him a call. You have my number. Yeah. He's home right now. Call him. Why not?